Hello and welcome to a somewhat soggy and wet Portimao here for the Portuguese Grand Prix for BRL Realistic Tier. Turn my monitor down there that just played back immediately what I just said. Anyway, I am your host tonight, Ferrari 94, filling in here for the Realistic Tier regular commentary. We will have Feta Cheese joining here in a little bit. But this is going to get interesting now because I don't think anybody expected for there to be rain. So, we shall see what happens. And more importantly, we're going to see who's going to be the first one to come out on the track, because we've gone already a minute and nobody has come out of the pit lane at all. So, see what happens here. While they're contemplating what to do with their lives, let's go have a look at the points, because I have no idea what the point standings are for this tier. Loading the Google Doc. All right, looks like Minico is going to be the first man out in the Haas. All right, so point standings. Hoopalicious leads the points standings right now on 95 points. He's got a 30-point advantage over Alpha Nesis. Does not appear that we actually have Hoopalicious in the field tonight that I can see. But Alpha Nesis is here. He's still in the Ferrari team. Skither is third on 55 points, 10 behind Alpha Nesis, which it looks like he is also not in the field. Boss Cookie in the Aston Martin is in fifth. Looks like he's the next person that's actually here, and he's on 31 points. So this is kind of the weird thing about Realistic, is you get this sort of jumbled up point standings because you got people all over the place doing contracts and everything. Looks like Minico's still the only man out there on the circuit. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go on board. That's a little loud in my ear. Anyway, coming through the final corner, pretty much flat 7th gear. Up to 8th there at the line, doing about 180 miles an hour or 300 Ks. They're down to turn 1, downhill, very easy to overshoot this braking zone, take as much curve as you can on the entry and the exit there, and then feed it out for the hairpin here, and then try to get the power down up over this hill. It's very easy to get sideways, as you see right there. He does get sideways. Hold on just a moment. Got to invite Q-Man into the lobby, apparently. Which, Gonna have to go find him the hard way here. There we go. Anyway, looking at Minico finishing the lap up, he's going to do a 1:24.6. Not really sure what kind of times we are going to be expecting, as Ian has joined the session there. But we do have some other drivers out on a lap at the moment here, on the outlap at least, heading around the circuit. So, Minico lays down the marker early on here for the Haas team. Surely we'll see that get a little bit lower as we go on, as now Zach the Beast has started a lap in the Alpine. And he has already invalidated it through sector 1 and through corner 1 really. So not much doing there. Drix in the Williams on a lap behind him. He has gotten through there with everything intact. So we'll see what he can do, if he can do any better than the Haas of Minico. Looks like Minico maybe running slowly there. Yeah, everybody's kind of running slowly, trying to save the tires as much as possible. Although in the wet, that's really not as big of a deal, but you do have a limited number of them. So maybe there possibly could be some wet running in the race that we don't know about yet. So interesting to see what transpires. Got 3 parts qualifying in realistic. Just like real life, Q1, Q2, and Q3, so you do not want to be in that bottom 5 when the clock runs out. So we'll see who we lose after this session and who we keep. Trying to multitask a few things there, so got a few names in here that I don't recognize, don't really know who they are, but Minico still 6.5 minutes gone before we finally get a second time on the board, and that's going to be from Drix, and it's a 1:44, which is definitely not a representative time, as he was very slow. Dayton puts up a lap in the Mercedes, pretty much almost identical to the lap that Minico did. That's the one thing about the rain that you gotta like. Your car may be better, but doesn't necessarily guarantee you a better lap time, as now Supply Raptor in the Red Bull has put up a 1:23.7, so almost a second quicker, as Mumu in the Alfa Romeo also tosses in a 24.7 to get himself up to 4th place at the moment. Formula Cringe does a 26.5 in the Alpha Tauri, which, as we know, is a bit of a dog sometimes in the best of conditions. In the rain, I'm sure it's absolutely horrid to drive. But either way, he's on the board, he's got a time, and sometimes that will do you more than anything else. Good look back at Drix here and see what he can do. He is coming through the 3rd sector looking to complete this lap. This looks like a little bit more of a hot lap than the previous one, so maybe a little bit more representative time out of the Williams here. Barrels it down through the last corner, keeps it nice and tight, and he's going to jump up to P5, so not a bad effort there from Drix. Obviously, we know that car is not the fastest thing out there, but definitely will get the job done, and we've got a little bit of not sure what that's all about, but Drix and Beatnik have now got penalties for each other. I'm not really sure what that was all about, but yeah, we caught that on camera, folks, and they're still going at it. What on earth is going on here? Forget the lap times, we're watching these two play bumper cars. Not really sure what the deal is there. End of the day, the Alfa Romeo of Beatnik has lost the front wing. Drix has got a 5-second penalty, or a 5-place penalty. Not really sure what to make of that. Anyway, looking back at the timesheets, so you have got Supply Raptor on top of the board still with that 23.79. Boss Cookie right behind. I say right behind, he's about 0.6 behind in the Aston Martin. Still not a bad effort there. The second Red Bull of Ardell in P3. Followed by Minico, who's still on that first time he set. So, doing very well there. It's like Axe has gotten the Alpine up to P7. Sufjan all the way up to P9. And then Sky in the second Haas is in P11. Backmarker in the second Alpha Tauri. Or I guess I should say the first Alpha Tauri there in P12. It looks like Brake Tester 2 has slotted into P2 ahead of his teammate just by a little bit. Zach the Beast in the second of the Alpines, currently running 14th. Formula Cringe down in 15th already. And then Roman Dishmay, Darth Q-Man, Cloud, Brake Tester 1, and Alphanesis all have still to set a time. Brake Tester 1 and Q-Man are on the circuit. Trying to get the chat back up on my phone after juggling some things there. Anyway, so looks like we had an Aston Martin very slow in Sector 3 there. Not sure if that's a spin or just getting out of the way of some of the other cars. Either way, not really what you want to see there is yellow flags, because that just tends to throw people off, and maybe they don't get as good a lap as they might have otherwise there. So, either way. Ardell has now moved up to P2, so it's currently a Red Bull 1-2 at the top of the sheets here. And Q-Man is going to be the first to look to push somebody into the relegation zone. He does so. That's going to push Cringe down into P16. First man with a time inside the bottom 5. There are still 4 drivers that have not set a time at this point. And with that, Cringe actually jumps up to right behind Q-Man's time. So that's going to push Zach the Beast onto the bubble. And he has invalidated his lap here, so hopefully he's got enough for another go. Looks like Brake Tester 1 has jumped up to P10 in the Mercedes, and that's going to push backmarker into P16 and put PRS Sky on the bubble in the Haas. Looks like some very awkward movements through the first couple of corners as people try to get out of each other's way and not get slapped with an impeding or get involved in an accident. We've already seen one pair come to blows over such things, so hopefully we don't see any more of that tonight. Roman Dishmay and Althesis both out on an out lap right now. Matter of fact, I think... Where are you? There he is. Yep, here is Alphanesis, and this is going to be the interesting one to watch, I think. He is probably going to end up right at or close to the top. Remember, this man currently second in points to Hoopalicious, who is not here. He will not be able to take that points lead, but he will be able to get very close to it. If he can, number one, stick it on pole. Number two, win the race and get the fastest lap in the process. He will gain 26 of those 30 points back, if that is the case to happen. Drix disqualified for parking in a dangerous location there on the inside of one of the hairpin corners. So he will start dead last. And here in just a second you will see, there it goes. It does update to show him P20. So that will be one of the drivers that gets eliminated here at the end of the session. So we're going to look at Alphanesis and see what kind of time he can do. As Dayton retires from the session, apparently he thinks that 24.3 is good enough. I would have to agree with him and say, yeah, that's probably going to be good enough, as, Alphanesis gets it all out of shape in Sector 1 here through the fast right-handers. And up the hill, I think he may have abandoned that lap. No, he's still going for it. Oh, that's going to be the end of that lap, though. Big old rear lock and just slips it around. So he will probably reset and go for another lap here in just a moment. Roman Dishmay also out there on a lap. Let's see what he can do in the McLaren. He is doing a little bit more conservative lap, it looks like, possibly, than the Ferrari, although he gets very close to the edge of the track there. Almost all 4 wheels off, but not quite. Just trying to maximize the exit of that corner. And where does he end up? He is going to go to P8 with a 24.7. So you got to think that's going to be a pretty good lap time for him. I think more or less if you can get into the 25s or the low 25s, you'll be doing just fine to get through the next session without really much issue. Bit of an awkward getting out of the way for the Alpine there as Minico retires from the session. Apparently he's in the same mindset as Dayton, thinking that that will be good enough, which for the Haas, that's a pretty good lap, pretty good position at this point in the session, so hopefully things don't pick up at random too much. Alphanesis back on another lap here in the Ferrari. He did complete the lap. It did not get invalidated at a 34.82. But that lap would not be anywhere near good enough to get him through. Boss Cookie third car to retire from the session. He is currently in P2 with a 23.9, only the second man to break into the 23s tonight, along with Supply Raptor in the Red Bull. So definitely think all these guys that are in the low 24s are probably pretty safe here. Not going to see too much improvement at this point in the session. So let's see what Alphanesis can do here. A little bit of oversteer on entry there into that corner in Sector 3, but not too much. Catches it quite well. It's not really going to cost him too much time. As backmarker now retires. He's in 17th. He is going to be out of the session as well as Drix. So there's 2 of the 5 that we're going to lose at the end of the session. What can Alphanesis do? He is going to go to P6 right behind Cloud in the other Ferrari. So currently the Ferraris are 5 and 6. I'd say they're probably pretty safe with those laps. Brake testers both retiring from the session there. I was about to say brake tester 1, but then the second one did it. So I was like, okay, well, both of them are just going to call it quits there. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars already no longer participating in the session for one reason or another, and Alphanesis getting a big snap of oversteer there on the exit. Ardell now joining it to make that 8 cars choosing to no longer participate. He thinks that a 124 even is going to be sufficient, and I'd be hard-pressed to not agree with that. So, let's take a look at the 3 guys currently sitting outside. As one of them, we see Formula Cringe looping it there. Again, that's that over the top of a crest corner in end of Sector 1 towards the start of Sector 2. Car just gets really light over the top of that hill, and it's very easy to do that on throttle, because that is an acceleration zone. So that is the session timer up. Flying laps will count. You cannot start a new lap at this point. So currently Cringe, man sitting in 16th, he is going to be done with that spin on his last lap here. Real question is, where is Beatnik? And Beatnik loops it too. Ooh. Commentator's curse. So it looks to me like the status quo will be the status quo here. Q-Man does improve a couple of tenths to get out of 15th, but it's not really going to matter because the guys all behind him are not improving. So, Formula Cringe, Beatnik 714, PSR Sky, BRL Backmarker, and Drix RL. As you see Cringe do almost the exact same thing as Beatnik did. So odd. Same corner, literally almost mirror image of the spin he had. So anyway, so both Alpha Tauris gone, 1 Haas, 1 Williams, and 1 Alfa Romeo. 15 players left to see who is going to start on pole position. It looks like we're just waiting on Cringe to get either back to his pit box or retire from the session, which I'm not sure why he hasn't done yet. All right, there we go. I was about to say, is it going to go to the next session? So, Supply Raptor with the fastest time in Q1. Let's take a look at the incidents here. So, looks like Drix. So, he got a penalty. Beatnik has not. Might be worth another look at all that happening, going on there once the race is over with, but not sure what the deal is there. Gonna hop over to the chat and see if any fireworks have come up. All right. Well, apparently Drix ran out of fuel, which is why he was parked in that location he was, and why he was disqualified. So, got stuck at the bottom of the hill in Sector 2 and couldn't get up it because he had no gas. Cue the "I know what's wrong with it" joke. It ain't got no gas in it. Anyway, Q2, more of the same. Looks like Ardell already going out, as we can see there, and a couple of cars already going out on the circuit. Looks like Brake Tester 2. Brake Tester 1. And Dayton all heading out onto the circuit already, and now we got a stream of cars coming out. So first we are going to have Brake Tester 2, followed by Dayton, followed by Brake Tester 1. Then the sole remaining Haas of Minico, looking to replicate that performance he had in Q1. Sufjan right behind him. And it looks to me like possibly, yes, Axe F1 in the Alpine, and then possibly no, that's going to be Ardell following him in the Red Bull. So Ardell's going to want to get a good gap to the Alpine in front of him to not have his lap disturbed. Alright, so let's take a look at the Aston Martin leading the way here, and we're just going to follow him along because that's the only thing we can really do. Looks like the Williams of Q-Man also on a lap there. He is well and truly behind this group, so he's in a good place on the circuit at the moment. Looks like the second Alpine of Zach the Beast coming out onto the circuit right now, exiting the pit lane. Followed by one of the Ferraris and Boss Cookie. And Brake Tester comes across the line to start his first flying lap of the session. This is a little more interesting than maybe usual qualifying is, because while you're not seeing differing tires being used and people, you know, they are still having to manage their tire sets just like they would any other session. But the interesting thing is they've only got a handful of these intermediate tires. They don't have a ton of these. I think there's 3, maybe 4 sets per car. So really don't have a lot of rubber to work with here. So it's pretty much you got to go out and you got to make it happen. And you got to make sure you put in at least a couple of laps worth of fuel, so that way if you do bomb one lap or go wide or get caught with traffic, you can go again. Qualifying. So riveting. Anyway, down through the final corner comes the Aston Martin, and what is the time he's going to put onto the board here? It is a 1:25.069. Mercedes behind of Dayton does a 1:28.887. Brake Tester 1 puts it on to the top of the board with a 24.5. Looks like one of the Alpines has spun around. I think that would have been Axe. Yep, that would be who that is. And then you've got Ardell coming around to finish his lap. He's going to go to the top with a 23.7, so far and away the Red Bulls look to be the superior cars here tonight. Looks like everybody out on the circuit except for Roman Dishme, Cloud, and Supply Raptor. So those three wanting to let the initial flurry of laps get put in and get some of the traffic cleared off before they decide to go out there. So we'll see how that plays out for them. All right, taking a look at Zach the Beast, who just started his lap. He is kind of leading this secondary group of cars, not part of that first little flurry. And ooh, getting a little sideways there out of the, call it the rising hill, whatever corner number that is. I don't even remember the corner numbers on this track. It's been so long since I've been here. But getting a little bit of a tail wag on. This track really is such a roller coaster. And he's invalidated that lap, so no good there for the Alpine. He'll want to re-rack and go again. 9 minutes remaining in the session. Not a ton of time to make your mark and get into Q3. So both Alpines not having the greatest first run in this session. And Mumu goes to the top in the Alfa Romeo with a 1:23.3. Where did that come from? Is that a sign maybe that the track is getting a little bit quicker? Potentially, because Mumu's on that 23.3. Ardell is on a 23.7 that he set earlier. Alphanesis is back out on the circuit. He is on a 24.4. Brake Tester 2's on a 24.5. Brake Tester 1's on a 24.5. Boss Cookie's on a 24.5. Dayton's on a 24.8. He's going back into the pits now, as we see, being rolled back into the garage. Sufjan's on a 25.1 in the McLaren. Axe got down to a 25.1 in the first of the Alpines. Minico on a 25.1, and Q-Man on a 25.1. So, a lot of people on more or less the same time, so very fine margins, making the difference in positions here. Roman Dishme out there on an outlap. Looks like Zach the Beast has invalidated again. So again, another lap just gone to waste for the Alpine. Cloud, Supply Raptor still sitting in the pit lane. Again, same thing as last time. We're going to have 5 drivers eliminated at the end of the session here. And then we'll just have 10 left for the Q3 shootout to decide who gets pole. Going to have a look at Roman here with the McLaren. Kind of more or less got the track to himself, so should be pretty easy for him to get a lap in here. Go on board with him here for just a moment. This is one of the most difficult sections of this racetrack, is this corner is trying to carry speed, get the power down, not lose the rear end of the car, and then all of a sudden it just drops out from under you right there and then flings you back uphill towards this corner, which again, the road just drops away from you right as you get on the brakes. So very challenging sector there in sector 2. Looks like the McLarens are the only 2 cars on the circuit at the moment. Everybody else in the pit lane, potentially gearing up for that last dash to try and get into Q3. Down off the final corner, what can Roman do through this big long right-hander onto the front straightaway? Where is he going to end up? He is going to end up in P7, so he is currently in. Currently, the time to beat to get into Q3 is Axe on a 25.116, and you've got 4 guys right there: Sufyan, Axe, Minico, and Q-Man all sitting right on that same, more or less, time of a 25.1. So the cut line for Q3 is going to get interesting here. And hello, Alex and Fan. I'm not ignoring you guys there in the chat. Not a whole lot going on at this particular point in time. Sufyan's gotten himself up to P3. He's got to be pretty happy with that. Getting into the 23-second bracket here in the McLaren. That's a pretty good lap, but still just an almighty lap from the Alfa Romeo of Mumu to do a 23.3 in that car in these conditions. Where did he come from? Is all I have to say to that. Roman Dishmay's invalidated this lap, so he'll probably be heading for the pit lane to try and gear up for one last go if he's got the ability to. And yep, comes in very hot to the pit lane. Boss Cookie out there again in the Aston Martin, sorry. Got an Alpine right in front of him that's going to need to get out of the way. I think that is Zach the Beast, who is on an outlap, so he'll probably get out of the way without much complaint here. Yep, there he goes on the back straightaway. Which that will give Cookie a nice clean entry into Sector 2. And we'll see what the Aston Martin driver can do here. He's not out at the moment. He's got about half a second down to P11. But not enough that you would feel comfortable, you gotta admit. Alright, looks like he set a personal best through Sector 2. We'll see what he can do when he gets back around to the line. You probably noticed I kind of have the lap data turned off just to kind of help build a little bit of suspense into this. Just because it is qualifying, seeing if they're up in Sectors 1 and 2 is really not great for helping build tension, because you don't know where they're going to end up if you've got that on there. Or you do know where they're going to end up. So Boss Cookie jumps to the top of the board with a 23.0, an impressive lap from the Aston Martin to go fastest in the session at this point. Supply Raptor's still in the pits. What on earth is the Red Bull driver thinking? Interesting. As we're watching Zach the Beast coming through Sector 2, hopefully he can get through without invalidating the lap this time and get a lap on the board and hopefully get himself up and out of the bottom 5. He's only got about 2 minutes left. Moves retired from the session. Got to admit that 23.3 with that car, you got to admit you're probably not going to get any better than that around Portimao. Zach having to navigate through a little bit of slower traffic here as he comes around to finish the lap. So we'll see what he is able to do in the Alpine. Looks like he's gotten through so far. Doesn't run wide there. Minico up to P3 in the Haas. So maybe the track is getting faster because you got an Alfa Romeo and a Haas, P2 and P3. Where's the Alpine end up? He is going to end up P6 on a 23.9. So a good pickup there from his Q1 time. And now we wait and see who is going to pick up here. We got finally Supply Raptor coming out to do a lap at the death right now. He is leaving this very late. Something happens or somebody gets in his way. This is not going to go the way he plans. So we'll see. Alphanesis goes to P3 in the Ferrari. Ardell to P5 in the other Red Bull. Cloud to P6 in the second Ferrari. Sufjan's been pushed back down to P7. Zach the Beast in 8th. Brake Tester 2 in 9th. Brake Tester 1 in 10th. Roman Dishmay is back on the circuit. He's in 11th. Dayton's in 12th in the second Mercedes. Axe is on a lap and is improving in 13th in the second Alpine, and then Q-Man in the Williams. Ardell jumps to the top of the timesheet with a 22.7, first man in the 22s. Boss Cookie with a 23.0 to go P2, and Brake Tester 1 jumps to P3 with a 23.1. Dayton up to P4, so it's a Mercedes 3-4 at the moment. Clock is up. Laps will count from this point forward. Let's see what Q-Man can do. As Axe is only able to improve to P12, so he is out. Zach the Beast is on the bubble in the other Alpine. What can Q-Man do? He's going to go P11, not quite able, about half a tenth from getting out of Q2. And who just jumped up there? Supply Raptor jumps up to P4. Not much of a surprise at that point. So that is going to put Cloud on the bubble. Can he improve here? No, he cannot. Brake Tester 2 jumps up to P2, and that is going to put Cloud out. And then Alphanesis jumps to the top of the board with a 22.703, just a little bit quicker than Ardell's 7.49. Roman Dishmay jumps up to P9, and that is going to be the 5 we have eliminated here. Minico in P11, still an almighty effort from the Haas to get P11 almost into Q3 there. Cloud in the second Ferrari, not making it out of Q2, maybe a bit of a disappointment. Both the Alpines of Zach the Beast and Axe F1, and then Q-Man made one position more than maybe you'd expect of the Williams here in Q2. So those are your 5 that are going to be eliminated. The 10 drivers we're going to have remaining: Sufjan 2914, Roman Dishmay, Moo Moo Milk, California, Dayton 1008, Supply Raptor 285, Brake Tester 1, Boss Cookie, Brake Tester 2, ERS Ardell, and Alphanesis on the top of the timesheets. Had 3 drivers get into the 22-second bracket there, and a couple more of them just shy of it. We'll see what we can get in Q3, as Feta has now joined the party. Better late than never. We just completed Q2, so we've lost Minico, Cloud, Zach the Beast, Q-Man, and Axe, and then I'd have to look and see who we lost in the first session there. But so far, more or less as you would expect it, except for the fact that with about maybe 5 or 6 minutes to go, Moo Moo in the Alfa Romeo cranked out an almighty lap to go to the top of the board for a bit there of a 23.363. For reference, the fastest lap at the end of the session done by Alphanesis was a 22.7. Big surprise indeed. Cloud maybe not getting the result he wanted there, but points don't pay for qualifying, they pay for the race. He didn't miss it by that much, and he's definitely got a better car than a couple of the cars in front of him when it comes to race pace. So we'll see here in just a moment what Q3 is going to have in store. Just to let you know, Drix is going to be starting dead last as he ran out of fuel on the uphill hairpin in the end of Sector 2 and could not get moving, so he was disqualified for being parked in a dangerous location. Definitely not a good start for them, but they have been doing pretty well on the timesheets so far, with Supply Raptor going and waiting till the absolute last minute and still cranking out, I think, the fastest time in the session there. So definitely not hurting them performance-wise, and Ardell has not been a slouch either. He was, I believe, in the top 3 both sessions. So apparently you're a little quiet, so I've moved your volume in the Discord up to 1.5 times. So hopefully that fixes that. Just waiting for some confirmation from the chat there. Anyway, Q3, on we go, and we have got 2 McLarens, 2 Aston Martins, 2 Red Bulls, 2 Mercedes, 1 Alfa Romeo, and 1 Ferrari in this session. That is the question indeed. The other question is exactly how much inroads. Alphanesis actually was the fastest in Q2 there. I correct myself. He put that lap up at the very end. But he is also P2 in the Drivers' Championship here in Realistic at the moment. The man leading the table, Hoopalicious, has a 30-point advantage. He is not here tonight. Obviously, he is one of Red Bull's regular drivers at this point in time. So this is a golden opportunity for Alphanesis right now to claw back some of those points that he has lost to Hoopalicious over the first 5 races. He's 30 points back. He can max out at 26 tonight. I mean, if he can put it on pole, that's a great start for him. Interesting. As yes, Boss Cookie, maybe not quite ready for it because he was 5 seconds off the pace, but adventuring out there on the slicks, he's not doing too bad. So I think before the end of the session, we may see that as Cookie, he locks up the rears there through the first sector and long right-hander through the start of the lap. Just gets it all crossed up. Looks like the intermediate is still the tire to go to as Mumu, again, just thrashing that Alfa Romeo around the circuit, throws up a 22.4. That was, I think that was faster than the fastest lap we saw in Q2. It really is, and having driven that Alfa Romeo alongside Skither in Saudi Arabia for a race, I'll definitely say it's not a terrible car to drive. Maybe not the quickest thing, but it's very comfortable to drive. And in this kind of condition, with it being wet and potentially drying out, that's really what you want, is you want a car that you can lean on a little bit. Well, it's not hard to step up from a tractor, is it? Ardell was only half a tenth off the two in front of him. Boss Cookie switching to an intermediate in the pit lane there. So maybe he is not totally convinced about the softs, but if it dries out a little bit more for the end of the session here, that could be the tire to be on. All right, Feta, apparently you are still very quiet according to Ardell, so if you have some way to adjust that, whether it's pulling the mic closer to your mouth or say it with your chest, as they say. Nope, I am on the Xbox. Ah, there we go. Yeah, it says party audio. There we go. So, all right, so we've got the party audio settings there on now, so let's see if that's any better. So hopefully somebody will give us a response shortly on that. So Mumu actually switching to a set of soft tires on the graphic here, so he may be looking to go out on those and see what they're like. Mind you, there are only about 4.5 minutes left in the session. It goes quick in Q3. So Cookie going on or out. Cookie's already out again on those intermediates, so we're gonna hop over and watch him and see what he can do. Cookie's been very quick in this Aston Martin around here. Definitely, and that's always been my experience of it. Is you know when it comes to the dry tires, you know where the limit is. That's the thing about wet driving. You don't know where the limit is at any point, anywhere. So you have to go find it. Hmm. Yeah, we've got several people saying, yeah, everybody's saying you're still quiet, so I'm not sure what to do about that. Might as well. Let's see what happens. All right, guys. No, there's no slider. There's no slider except for there's the channel, the voice chat channel slider, and that's the only thing I've got to work with. So, and Cookie's invalidated the first lap, so that's not going to be good for him. So he's going to have to re-rack and go again. Good news is he does have time to do that. So, and that's kind of maybe why going on those soft tires at the start wasn't the greatest idea for him, because now his rhythm's interrupted. He went from being easily first or second fastest in both the first two sessions to now he's done that. Yeah. Yeah, he definitely can get around if he's got the fuel to do another lap. But not panning out for the Aston Martin driver the way he would have wanted here. So, hopefully he can salvage this, because otherwise he is starting P10 behind several cars. And this is kind of where the mixed up grid we would expect from a rain session comes in, because the Red Bulls and Sufjan were towards the top of the timesheets in Q2. A lot more of the guys who went on the intermediate start with are looking at the softs now. But it's kind of a mixed up order here. And that's kind of what we like about rain racing and rain qualifying is it does give us this mixed up order that maybe we don't see all the time. Yeah, I definitely think the intermediate is still the tire to be on. It may be drying just a little bit, but um, I definitely think there's still a bit too much water to be considering slicks out there at the moment. So coming down to it, last 20 seconds of the session, once that clock runs out, flying laps will count, and this will determine the order of the top 10. There's no more qualifying sessions after this, and we will go on to the race. Not sure what we're going to get for conditions in the race, but we will see as Supply Raptor comes up to the line. What is he able to do? He goes to the top with a 22 even. Ardell is coming to the line here. Can he make it a Red Bull 1-2? No, only 7th. Yep, whole second off his teammate. Alphanesis coming through the last couple of corners. What can he do heading up to the line? Heads to the pit lane, so not improving the way he would like. We're going to take a look at Boss Cookie. He's coming through the third sector. What is going to be the time set by the Aston Martin? Can he get off that 10th place starting position? We know he's quicker than that. He's shown that all throughout the night, just not able to get it together here in Q3. Out through the final corner. Going to let it run way out to the left side of the track. What's the time going to be? He is going to go P5, so that's a good improvement. Maybe not as much as he would have wanted. Make that P6, as looks like Dayton does get up into P4 there in the Mercedes, so we've got the Mercedes cars P4 and P5 as Brake Tester lunches the pit wall there. I don't know. I've noticed that lately, especially just even in like Grand Prix mode. I get down to the end of a qualifying session and I can't improve for whatever reason. I don't know any, just period. I've noticed that lately. It's like it gets to the last couple of minutes and all of a sudden there's just no improvement. If anything, there's degradation of the track. So out of position. So all right, so big props to Moo Moo Milk for putting that Alfa Romeo in P3. Not a position you usually see that car in. We'll see how that fares for him in the race. And what kind of conditions are we going to have in the race? Are we going to have dry conditions or are we going to have more wet conditions? We got overcast, it looks like. So potentially may indeed. Maybe we can get a sneaky little look at the weather forecast here. It does, but it doesn't. Anyway, so I'm just sure you just saw what I just saw. Dry at start, but rain comes in real soon. So we may have a wet race on our hands here, folks. So let's see what happens. 4 lights, 5 red lights. They're out, and we are off for Portugal. Where's my interface? There it is. I was like, where's the interface? So brake tester gets the jump. He is on the inside, and looks like he is going to get the lead from Supply Raptor. Potentially, Raptor cutting back to the inside, though. Going to try to get it back away from him. We'll take a look at the tires here in just a moment once we get everybody sorted out. These two still going at it for the lead. Raptor goes in. He looks like he's gone deep, and look at that. Oh, Mumu almost takes him 3 wide. Oh, that was really good. That's good racing right there. These two are just they're over and undercutting each other every corner just about when they get on the brakes. So now he's on the outside, going to get the inside here over the top of the hill, and that's going to be him into the lead, which is what he needs. He's on those soft tires as Mumu gets a little bit sideways there in the Alfa Romeo. Still holding on to P3. Done a good job off the start to hold on to that. Brake tester on the medium tire, though, as well as Mumu. Supply Raptor, Dayton, Boss Cookie, Ardell, Sufyan, Minico, Q-Man, Cloud, Cringe, Axe, Backmarker, Zach, Drix, and Beatnik all opting for the soft tire, so they're expecting that rain to come really quickly here. Some of these other guys, Sakai, Alphanesis, Roman, Brake Tester 1, and then obviously Mumu and Brake Tester 2. So we've got, I think, 6 cars. Yeah, 6 cars on the medium, everybody else on the soft. They're expecting it to come a little bit later, or at least for the pace advantage to take over, and then to be able to make some easy spots. As Cookie goes for a move. Cookie, he tried to send it in there on Mumu. Almost, I think it was 3 wide for a moment there. And yeah, that was too far back. That was never going to work. He's trying to make hay while the sun shines with those soft tires, but you got to be a little closer than that sunshine. Well, he's definitely slower than Cookie right now. As Cookie has another look, gives him a little bit of a nudge out of the way, through without too much effort. That's going to open up the door for Ardell in the second Red Bull to try and take that spot. Speaking of Red Bulls, out in front, not really too much surprise there. Raptor pulling out about a second gap already here at the end of lap 2, so that will negate any effects of DRS, as Dayton now takes over P2 in the Mercedes from Brake Tester. So the Aston Martin's running 3 and 4 right now. Got to imagine if Cookie gets up to Brake Tester is just going to say, yep, you're on the sauce, go on through, get after these guys. Yeah, definitely. Made a brilliant effort on the first lap. I think if he'd have got ahead, he might have had a decent chance of holding him, or just kind of being the cork in the bottle, at least until the DRS kicked in on this lap. But still, good effort nonetheless from the Aston Martin. Exactly. With this new tire model we've got this year, nobody really knows what's going to happen with the tire degradation until we actually get into the race, really. A lot more fall off, with a lot more chance for the harder compounds to catch back up, as you see Brake Tester getting DRS on the Mercedes down the front straightaway. No DRS there. What's going on there? And now Brake Tester's got a 3-second time penalty. As Cookie gets it sideways, Cookie's around. He's going to lose a ton of spots from that. Just a silly mistake right there. Probably had a little bit too much rear brake and tried to go a little bit too deep. And that's another aspect of the game this year that has played havoc, is the rear locking. It's a great feature they've added in. Definitely has caught people out a lot. It caught me unawares last week in Miami, but definitely makes you be a little bit more maybe careful on the brakes. But when you make those absolute send moves, it just makes you feel like a superhero when you pull it off. But there's the other side of it right there, is getting it all wrong. Yes, he is. Mind you, he is on the soft tire and brake tester's on the medium, but we are on lap 4, so those are going to start to fall away here pretty quick. So these two are hanging on to the back of the Mercedes in front. Yeah, I think Ardell's going to want to get by brake tester and clear that Mercedes and get after his teammate. Skither saying rain in maybe about 5 laps, so we potentially could be seeing that rain here any minute. Yeah, just a little yellow there. Not really sure what that was all about. Not seeing anybody really out of position. Going to try to go the long way around. He's going to get forced wide. He's going to have to give the position up there. He can't stay side by side with that. Yep, there he goes. He has to back out of it. Well, he didn't have too much of a choice there. It's either you stay there and make the pass and get a penalty for going off track and gaining an advantage, or you just back off and then accept that, hey, he's got the position for now. I'll get him here in a minute. The big thing that's helping brake tester right now is the fact that he's got Dayton right in front of him on those soft tires in the Mercedes. He's able to just kind of hang on to him, use the DRS to stay in front of Ardell. If he didn't have that DRS, Ardell would be just absolutely blowing his doors off right now. There it is. You can see it on the camera. Now the question is, how fast does it come in and how hard is it? Brake tester 1 now with a 3-second time penalty, so the brake tester is being the first to fall victim to track limits today with a 3-second each. I definitely think they are, but now everything's going to go pretty much sum zero because that track is getting very greasy very quickly. You can see the back end of Ardell's car squirming out of there as he tries to put power down. So definitely getting a bit of slip on here. And you can just see the water already starting to pull up on the track. You can see the raindrops hitting. It's coming down hard. I think they might be headed this time. And Alphanesis has caught up to Ardell, and yep, everybody into the pit lane. Ardell getting it all sideways, almost getting into the back of brake tester. Good job holding that and not making contact. Minico netting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not what you want there. The Red Bulls did double stack, as have the Ferraris. Cloud having to wait for Alphanesis to clear the box for a second. That's going to cost him some positions, and this is just going to mix everybody up even more. So coming out of the pit lane here, we have got Supply Raptor leading the race still, Dayton in second, Brake Tester 2 in second, DRS now disabled. Alphanesis has gotten up to fourth as Ardell had to wait on Supply Raptor. Mumu's gained a position out of that as well, so Ardell dropping back down into P6 again, just not having any luck right now in that second Red Bull. Yeah, he can still get there, but he's just got to kind of be patient and let it come back to him, because it will more than likely come back to him. Biggest thing right now is he's got to clear that Alfa Romeo, which is going to be slower than him on the whole here, so that will be the big thing. It really does. Speaking of caliber of drivers, Axe F1 has made up 6 spots from P15, and he is up into P9 in the Alpine right now, and looking at the back of Minico, who does have that 5-second time penalty. I think that would be the smart thing to do right here. he thought about it, but Ardell parked it on the apex and said, nope, nope, nope. That door is shut before the horse bolts. So you're probably going to see that Red Bull just take off into the distance, which is exactly what he needs to do. Because right now, it looks to me, from looking at the timesheets, Alphanesis maybe not having the easiest time firing those intermediates back up here, because he was about 2 seconds in front. He's only about a second and a half of Ardell right now. So we'll see if the Red Bull can close down on the Ferrari and get back in front of him. Indeed. Meanwhile, out front, Supply Raptor just kind of cruising away from everybody. He is already out to a 2.7 second lead as they go down the front straightaway here over Dayton, who has still got Brake Tester 2 looking at the back of him. Something's happened to Cookie. I'm not sure if he got held really badly or if he's spun. Speaking of spinning, Sky has spun at the first corner, or at the last corner, and he is now plumb last. And Cookie's now headed into the pit lane. So what's going on here? Cookie just, again, having horrid luck. The guy couldn't buy a break right now, apparently. Still got a fight for P2 between Brake Tester and Dayton at the moment. As Dayton getting a little bit squirrely there. That's going to give Brake Tester an opportunity to chuck it around the outside as they go up the hill here. Very well executed there. Gets this position. Now he's going to set his sights on Supply Raptor out front. Keep in mind he does have that 3-second time penalty to contend with. So he does need to pull a gap to maintain where he is at the moment. And now he's going to get another. Yep, went a little wide, got another time penalty for his troubles. So very well executed, very controlled, very calm. Exactly what he needed to do there. That's always a tricky thing when you're trying to send a move up the inside of somebody and there's somebody else in front of you. Is if you get it the slightest bit wrong, you're not only going to take yourself and the guy you're trying to pass out, you're going to hit somebody in front of you that had nothing to do with it. Yep, he's run wide there, and that's going to lose him one, maybe not quite 2 spots, but that's going to give Alphanesis P2. And now that lead for Supply Raptor has ballooned out to 4 seconds because of that little incident there. So not sure what happened to Brake Tester. Looks like he just overcooked it into the corner at the top of the hill here. Fine margins indeed. And he gets a little squirrely off the curb there through the first corner, so that thankfully didn't result in him getting knocked around, because he did have the Mercedes right up on the back of him. Speaking of on the back of him, Ardell has clawed his way back onto the back of this trio of cars here. So we'll see how quickly he can make work of the Mercedes and potentially the Aston Martin and try to go after that Ferrari, because I feel like he is probably out of this bunch the fastest of the 4 at the moment, or the second fastest behind Alphanesis. Haven't really seen what Alphanesis can do in clean air yet. Yeah, just not going his way at all, but still, hate to see somebody retire early because the race is not going their way. Obviously, you get plenty of safety cars, and that car is plenty quick enough to make up places. But either way, it's all said and done now. He is out of the session. So we focus our attention back onto the not leading group, but group for second place here, and see what is going to happen as we continue to go on here. Not really a whole lot of other cars too close to each other, but these four are pretty much under a blanket at this point. Yeah, everything's kind of stabilized, but they're still just 1, 2, 3, 4, just right behind each other. So maybe not pulling away, maybe just kind of everybody taking a deep breath here for a moment. And Drix has retired in the pit lane as well, so he was running pretty far off the back of the field at this point. Raptor had to have made a slight mistake there. And Ritzy just chimed in the general F1 Real chat. There goes Aston Martin's 0 DNFs goal. I would have to say so. So we now have 3 cars out of the race. Boss Cookie, Drix, and PRS Sky all retiring in the pit lane, just not having very good days, all 3 of them. So choosing to It's actually for P12, so let's see if Q-Man can get it. He does hold the entry a little bit wider, does a little bit of a cutback, try to get a straighter exit. Can he get up and around the AlphaTauri on this straightaway? Not quite close enough to think about a move here. Running very aggressively over the curbs. Really have to be careful about that this game, as it can unsettle the car and make you lock the rears quite easily. So maybe that technique not quite as prevalent as we've seen it in the past. Definitely fighting with a butter knife in a knife fight here. So, mind you, it's kind of like a butter knife in a dull fight. So Dayton picking up a penalty there, that's not going to help him in his quest to get back on the podium. He's still got 1 less than the guy in front of him, but now he's got 1 more than the guy behind him. Looks like, oh, brake testers run wide, and that's the opportunity Ardell needed. He's just picked up a spot there, and brake testers picked up his 3rd penalty, so not going the Aston Martin's way. But Ardell, again, just that's what he needs to have happen, is he needs these guys to just kind of float on out of his way because they make a little mistake and give him the road. And he will be able to take off after that Ferrari that is only a couple seconds up the road. So Alphanesis not driving away from these guys, and also not really in the leader either. So you can see Supply Rapper just going over the crown of the hill there at the end of the front straightaway. So everybody's still in relatively close quarters. Supply Rapper got to be feeling pretty comfortable out there with a 4-second lead, though. Gonna hold you up here just a second. Ardell is looking. Ardell's looking. Oh, and he's losing. That was not what he needed to do there at all. Ardell has done that a few times, and it has finally bit him in the backside. He does this little move where he looks to the inside, and then he jumps back to the outside, and the guy in front of him did not leave him enough space that time. Brake tester's gotten back through, and that is just not going to be good for the rest of his night here. And now it's definitely over now because he's lost out and he's losing pace to the cars behind. He's got the Alfa Romeo of Mumu trying to take fifth place away from him, and Cloud right behind in the second of the Ferraris. So not what the Red Bull driver needed, and you see right there he just understeers wide through the final corner trying to come into the pit lane, and he is going to come into the pit lane and get that wing changed just because obviously you can see the car is way slower in that configuration. So now it's damage control. Can he get back to the points? So yeah, bit of a silly. Well, maybe yes and no, because he's got still 16, 17, maybe 17 laps of this race left to run. He is down in 16th, but he is on significantly fresher tires than the rest of the field here. About roughly 9 laps fresher tire. And in the wet, that does make a pretty substantial difference. Yep, I do see that gap. And I think Alphanesis has just turned up the wick a little bit here because that gap back to Dayton has ballooned out to 6.5 or to 4.5 seconds now for Alphanesis. So it's a lot bigger than it was a minute ago. Yep, the Ferrari definitely dialed in these conditions, and he is like, nope, I'm just going to bide my time here, and then, okay, now we're going to go after this guy. Very much might have an opportunity there, and this is just how quick. Lock in the rears. No, but you can see it slipping away from him here just a little bit at a time. That Ferrari getting ever closer in the Red Bull's mirrors. And speaking of Ferraris and Red Bulls, how quickly things can change. It was looking to be Red Bull's a red letter day for Red Bull. And now we have the Ferraris potentially looking at a double podium, because look who's clawed his way up to 6th place and is only about 3 seconds off of 3rd, who, by the way, does have a time penalty, as well as the other cars in front of him. Yeah, that's going to be important for him to clear the Alfa Romeo quickly to get back into his rhythm, because right now he's losing a lot of downforce being just stuffed up behind him. Looks like he's going to go for the move here down towards turn 1, going to get that done pretty easily, and now he can set off after 3rd and 4th place and close that gap up, and really, at that point, he doesn't have to do much aside from sit there, but you got to think he wants more than just that P3. He wants it to be a Ferrari 1-2, so that way they can gain as many points as possible. Like I said, I believe they are leading the Constructors' Championship right now. Yep, the good news for Ardell, like we said, he does have the freshest tires, and he is definitely making use of that. I've got it on the leader gap, and he is clawed back probably a half a second on this lap alone to the race lead. So don't count him out yet from getting any points. He may potentially still be able to reel something in by the end of this race. We've still got 15 laps to go as Beatnik and Cringe are changing spots there as they go through the end of Sector 2. Looks like one of them may have run wide, so Cringe maintaining the position for the moment. But we're looking at the lead of the race right here. Looking at Alphanisas trying to rip that lead away from the Red Bull of Supply Raptor. Nothing doing through here. I don't know about you, but that rain looks to be a little heavier than it has been. So maybe the track getting a little bit wetter, a little bit greasier. We could potentially see a switch. Oh, yeah, as you see Alphanisas get a big old rear slide on coming out of the hairpin there. Could we see potentially wet tires? Because Backmarker has already switched to them, so we'll see. I've got the leader gap up from their position to the leader, so we'll see. Interestingly, if that starts to decrease for him. Because if it does, that could be indicating it's time for wet tires. Hey, Feta. Feta. An Alpha Tauri just pulled half a second out of a Ferrari and a Red Bull on wets. And Ardell picks up a penalty. That's not going to help him out at all in that situation. But I think the wet tire might be a little bit superior at this point, and it does not look to be improving at all. So it could be worth the gamble. As we got a McLaren around, that's Roman Dishmay around in the first sector at the hairpin. Gets it righted on the inside of the track without any issue. Formula Cringe now diving into the pit lane. Looks like he's going to follow his teammate's suit. He is in a much better position than his teammate has been, so we'll see what he can do. Exactly. It's a who blinks first right here. So, kind of curious as to what's going to happen. Ardell has clawed back about 3 seconds out of that overall gap back to the lead of the race since he switched on to that new set of intermediates, having to pit for the new wing. Both of them stay out here. So maybe they don't think it's quite bad enough, as Backmarker really hasn't made any more inroads on them, but he's slowly chipping away at that gap in a much worse car. So I think it's right at that point that we're going to see the crossover between the wet and the intermediate. So I think we give it a few more laps, and you're going to start seeing a lot more people dive into the pit lane. Looks like Minico actually has gone into the pit lane. So the Haas driver, currently in 10th, now down to 11th as Q-Man goes by on the front straightaway, could be looking to make a strategy call to get a few more points for his team. And that would be quite impressive to get a nice haul of points in a Haas. Yeah, and so far there's really not been too much reason to. The gaps they've been gaining a little bit, but not a ton, as we've lost Feta for a moment. So hold on just a minute here, and we'll try to get him back. So we'll try to get him back. Minico actually goes on to a fresh set, and here they both go into the pit lane. What are these two going to do? Do they go to the wet, or do they go to a new set of intermediates? Minico went to a new set of intermediates, which definitely for Ardell proved to be quite a bit quicker, as he's pulled that gap down quite significantly. So both of them have just pitted, and they've gone on to... Raptor's gone on to the wets. Alpha Nesis has gone for another set of intermediates, so split decision among the top two. What'd you do? Well, currently he's driving away from Alpha Nesis a little bit, so we'll see how that decision pans out. Split decision amongst the top two there. Roman Dishmay has pitted onto the wet tire as well. Minico went for another set of intermediates, oddly enough. Q-Man coming out just in front of Cringe, it looks like, on a new set of wets. And Ardell has made it back up to P9 at the moment. And we got a yellow flag. Yep, Axe has spun it. He's in P5. That's not good for him. He needs to get going before he loses spots. He's got the two race leaders coming by. He stays, looks like, predominantly out of the way. No, he's going to force Supply to go the long way around here. He's going to get right, and he's just spun it around. Yep, so I think the wet tire definitely may be the decision to go for here, as Ardell is going to come up and look to take that position as well. So, mind you, Ardell is on the intermediates. So, brake tester on a wet tire as well. So, that'll be the concern for Alpha Nesis right now, is going to be brake tester 2 behind. Mind you, he does have those 9 seconds worth of penalties to contend with. So now the question is, as Alpha Nesis does look to have the measure, or Supply Raptor does look to have the measure of Alpha Nesis in the conditions right now with the tire choices they've got. Look at that gap growth through the first couple of corners. Just the amount of time he gained right there. That gap's out over 2.5 seconds now. They might just stay out, but I don't think it's going to benefit them at this point. They're gonna get caught by Supply Raptor, I think, pretty fast here, because all he has to do is reel them in by about 1.5 seconds a lap. As Supply Raptor gets very, very sideways there. Well, I mean, that's just driving in the wet, but all he has to do is pull them in 1.5 seconds a lap right now, and it's only going to get worse for them because they're on those intermediate tires. So I think Supply Raptor is sitting in the catbird seat with this right now. So I think you gave your driver a good decision there. So. Yep, Supply Raptor going to gain back up to P3 with those two coming into the pit lane, and now he's got about 13.5 seconds and 10 laps. So he does not even hardly have to make, he doesn't even have to make 1.5 seconds a lap to get there. He can just literally, if he can cruise up to the back of these two and get around Cloud, then job done, because Dayton's got that 3-second time penalty. Cloud, by the time he gets there, those intermediates, number one, are going to be looking very second-hand, because both of them are on, as it looks like, Cloud's actually, he's actually cut the corner somehow, so I think he half spun and cut the corner, so not good there for the Ferrari, as that's now netted him a 5-second penalty. So now both of them have a penalty, so all he has to do is cruise up to the back of both of them, and he will get that spot more or less. Axe has spun it again. He is. Axe has spun it around again at the hairpin in Sector 1. But yeah, the gap's coming down exponentially now. So he's pulled 3 seconds already, and we're not even done with the lap on the front two. So definitely think the wet tire was the smart decision. I think Alpha Nesis is going to be able to hold on maybe to second place, just because the guys behind him have penalties, and he doesn't, and he's also got maybe a little bit quicker car than the guys behind him. as well as those fresh intermediates, but I think the wet tire was definitely the way to go for your driver. And just to think, poor old Ardell, if he'd have been able to hang on and not have that happen for a couple more laps, or have that happen and then it be the ideal time to go to the wets, where would he be right now instead of P8, 28 seconds off the lead? He's looking actually at brake tester 1. Mind you, he's got Roman Dishmay all over the back of his car, so he's got to be careful not to open himself up for a move trying to go for one. Mind you, Roman is on the wet tire. He's going to go for a move to the inside here. He's going to have the superior grip on Ardell. Does he have the position? Yes, he does. A little bit of wheel touching there, not too crazy. He's going to get better drive out of the corner due to the better grip those tires are giving him at the moment. So Roman Dishmay up to P8, Ardell down to P9 now. Yeah, no, definitely not what he wanted to have happen there, but this is going to be the space to watch right here. We have got, looks like 7 or 8 laps to go, one of the two. I think it's 8 laps to go that time by Alphanesis. Just holding station. He's about 2 seconds behind Supply Raptor right now. Just not able to make any inroads on him on those intermediates, and I think if he does start pushing more with conditions, he's just going to lose the rear end. Brake tester is gaining on him a little bit though, so that gap's come down quite a bit. Mumu is holding station in 6th place. He's just kind of off in his own little world, really, at this point. Ardell now pitting for the wets. So he's going to have slightly fresher wet tires, but he's going to have all the work to do. He's going to probably come out behind Zach, possibly even behind Axe. Maybe even Q-Man. So maybe the conditions finally getting the better of Ardell on those intermediates, and he's having to call it a day for those, and all the way down to 14th now. He's got some work to do to catch back up. He's about roughly 15, 16 seconds behind 10th place Beatnik right now, who is still out there on the intermediates, as is Axe, and Minico as well on the intermediates, about 8 seconds up the road from Beatnik. But we're going to look at Supply Raptor here as he comes up to the back of Cloud and Dayton. He has caught back up to the leaders. What an interesting race strategy-wise this has been. Explain. Yeah, Alphanesis actually pulling that gap down just a little bit, down to about 1.6 seconds between them. I still think that Supply Raptor is going to have the better situation here, especially if he can clear these two. I think Alphanesis is going to have a hard time clearing these guys on the same tire. Yep, he made a look for it, didn't really get much purchase on it. I think he's just going to have to send it up. Yep, he's going to have to send it up here around the top of the hill. He's alongside, got the nose ahead. This is 100% his corner. Now he's on the outside. This is probably honestly where he wants to be here, as Cloud tried to hold him up a little bit there for Alphanesis to get caught back up. And you got to imagine there Cloud sliding off to the side a little bit. That's going to allow Alphanesis to get through. So maybe a little bit of team play there at Ferrari. I think Alphanesis is better once his tires wear in a little bit, but I think the conditions maybe. That moment from Cloud there, I think, is going to be the decision maker about what happens here for the rest of this race between these two, because that allowed him to pull that gap down to about half a second. Now the real question is, how fast can Supply Raptor dispatch Dayton There he goes, right there. Not very long at all. That's going to allow him to have at least a corner with Dayton between him and Alphanesis. And now the question is, can the Ferrari follow suit and give chase to the Red Bull? He's going to be looking on the exit of the corner here. Dayton not getting a great drive off the corner. He's going to have the inside. He just lets him go. So yeah, so he only had about one corner with the Mercedes in between. Would have liked to have maybe seen Dayton put up a little bit more of a fight, but I think he knows his goose is cooked there. Another yellow flag looks like Zach the Beast around. So the Alpines not liking that hairpin in Sector 1 as Axe does pick up another 3-second time penalty. He's still on the intermediates. Ardell could still get back in the points potentially here, just depending upon how things go with him. Yeah, he could, especially if it does start to dry out a little bit, which I can't really tell you if it's... I think it might have. I think it may have swung back the intermediates way a little bit, but... Or maybe that's just the tire wear coming into play and affecting Supply Raptor. I think that's what we saw there towards the end of the first stint, was the tire wear affecting him a little bit more than Alphanesis. But these two have been so evenly matched most of the race, you know it's going to have to be just an almighty send for him to get by. Either that or a mistake. He's looking. And Raptor just not getting the grip there, just sliding along the outside. And that's going to give the lead to Alphanesis. So Alphanesis back to the lead of the race. Raptor getting a 3-second time penalty. He is... I think it has lightened up. I think the wets have gone away here. All right then. So they were the better tire for a moment, but now not so much, and we're still going to have a, looks like, on-track fight for P2 here. Let's see what the penalties look like at the moment. So Raptor's got 3 seconds. Brake Tester 2 has 9 seconds. Dayton's got 6. Cloud does have a 5, but that could potentially get removed. Moo and Brake Tester 1 both have a 3-second time penalty. Roman and Minico do not have any. Beatnik has 3, Axe has 3, and Ardell has 3, which Ardell is all over the back of Axe at the moment. Looks like he's going to go for the move here, going down the front straightaway. Goes to the inside, and he is going to have that done before they even get to the corner. Switches back over in front to cover him off and get back on the racing line. So I'm not sure, because I think it has lightened up, and I think also the tires just started to go away from Raptor there. Yeah, they're on same tires, same age. Yeah, I think Raptor's just struggling with tire wear for some reason, regardless of what tire's on. So, be interesting to see how this plays out with 3 laps to go, because Alphanesis is streaking off into the distance now, while these two fight over second place. Keeping in mind the penalties, it's going to still go back Supply Raptor's way if he can keep him relatively close if he does get by, but Then he's got to contend with the guys further back that could potentially play a factor in this. And we're looking at the fastest lap of the race. Raptor does have the fastest lap of the race at a 19.150, which is about half a second almost faster than the nearest car. So he's had speed, but maybe just used the tires up a little too much. Oh! I think Raptor got a little sideways there. I think he got loose. And that just opened the door for the Aston Martin. I mean, yeah, look at that. He gathered it back up down the straightaway. I think Raptor's running a bit lower downforce setup maybe, and it's just chewing through the tires. Yeah, he's giving him a lot of pace, but maybe not a whole lot of longevity. So I think that's been the deciding factor here is staying power. Looking back here at Cloud, Mumu, and Dayton, keeping in mind again, Cloud could get that 5-second removed potentially. He is still potentially looking at just maybe getting on the podium here. And again, impressive race from Mumu. Again, he's on the wet tire just like Brake Tester 2 is, so definitely not having a bad moment here as we come around to start the final lap here in a moment with the race leader. But doing P6 in an Alfa Romeo, potentially better than that because of the penalties in front of him. We'll see what he ends up at here in about a lap's time. But we're going to go take a look at Alphanesis. He's come off the final corner, around onto the final lap. I mean, I got to definitely maybe give him driver of the day. He's managed this beautifully. Was behind at times, and he's just gotten back to where he needs to be and pulled the gap out here at the end to, you know, just not really have any challenge at all for the race win here. So good job to him today. I got to give him driver of the day on that one. Yeah, for sure. Definitely has it in the bag as he comes up actually to a lap. Looks like possibly, I think that's back marker. Yep. So he is going to make a back marker here at the end. Not very often we see somebody get lapped on merit in one of these races. So coming around the final couple of corners, Alphanesis is going to come away with the race win. Who is going to be second? I think it is going to be Supply Raptor, based on the penalties here, because Brake Tester is going to fall down the order. Supply Raptor seems to have stabilized at about 2.5 seconds behind him, so he's going to get that position back. Now, who's going to be third? That's the real question. Looks like Brake Tester is going to hold on to P3 there. Who actually is that? Because I don't know who that is. Yeah. It's Catra. Oh. Trying to find who that is. I still can't find who that is in here. It's not coming up in the general chat. right, we'll try to get these guys into. Oh, it's Sanchez. That's who it is. Believe that was a stop inventing moment. All right, so there you have it. Race winner Alphanesis currently. Supply Raptor P2 with the fastest lap. Brake Tester 2 in the Aston Martin on the podium. We've got two of them in here, just waiting on one more, and then we'll get down to some interviews. Rest of the finishing order: Moo Milk in P4 in the Alfa Romeo. Extremely good job by him in that car. Brake Tester 1 in the Mercedes. Cloud currently in P6, but he is going to get probably that 5-second roost, so he could move up to P4 here potentially after the race. Roman Dishmay P7, Minico P8, Beatnik P9, Axe in P10, Ardell in P11, just half a second away from points after the rough night he had there. And if I can get that to come up. All right, so going to start off interviews with our race winner, Alphanesis. Alphanesis, looks like that was pretty well controlled, even at times you weren't in the lead. Walk us through your night. Yeah, it looked like it definitely started to dry out there at the end. I mean, both of us in the booth, we were looking at each other like, it looks like the wets might be the way to go. And then towards the end, I don't think we were planning on that drying up as much as it did. So congratulations to you, just drove away at the end there on those intermediates. Moving on to Supply Raptor in second. So made a gamble on the wet tires. Looked like it was going to be the smart decision there, and then it just all decided to dry up and go away from you a little bit. So still a good effort from you there. Walk us through your night. Yeah, definitely a good race to watch from the booth there. Really not knowing what was going to be faster or what was going to play out better. Made things a little bit more entertaining than maybe we would have had otherwise. So Sanchez or Brake Tester 2. A lot of penalties there, but you managed to hold on to P3. How was your night from your perspective? There he is. Very good indeed. So, brilliant race. Definitely worth a rewatch when you guys have the time. Just to see all the insanity going on throughout with the different tire strategies. It really was not clear cut what was going to be quicker there at the end with the tires. So, definitely a interesting strategy race. That's going to be all from BRL Realistic here from Portugal. We'll catch you in another week for another race. Later on this week, though, we have got Tier 3 on Friday, Tier 1 on Saturday night, and then following that, Tier 2 to cap the week off. Be sure to tune in for all those, and we will catch you there. Have a good one.